What's up, everybody? My name is Tucker. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 6 NBA players that already look like potential draft busts. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like rating on it. Check out my socials in the description as well. And let's go ahead and get started. So we've got 6 players on the list here, all 6 of which have not had promising starts to the season. And as we've talked about in previous videos, I think the beginning of the season is way more indicative of where a young player fits within the roster, fits within the long-term plans of a team than the end of the year, because typically the end of the year, especially teams that aren't very good, they start throwing their young guys out there just to see what they have. But if you are really confident about the future of a young player and they are a significant part of your long-term plans, generally they're getting run at the beginning of the season, and none of these players are. First up on the list, Poku. He's just not on the floor enough. And granted, he's the only non-top 10 pick on this list, and he was drafted very, very recently. And he's very young. I understand all that. But just when you watch the game, when you see how limited his minutes and his real opportunities are on a basketball team that's just not very good, there's some concern here for me that it's just never going to happen for him. Like when I think about it, when I think about 10 years from now, do I think that Poku is still in the league? It's difficult for me to envision that currently. I understand how young he is, how raw he is as a prospect, and he's like the 17th pick in the draft 2 years ago, right? So it's not like this guy's a former top 5 pick that we had crazy high expectations for. I just don't see it. I think that he's more of a like a meme than he is an actual NBA basketball player at this point. It would be really fun if it turned around and he was, bombing away threes and he looked really good and he was making these crazy passes. I just don't see it. If he was on a really good basketball team, if he was on Golden State and he wasn't playing, I would be much more understanding. But he's on a team that is actively not trying to win and has every incentive to play guys exactly like Poku, and he can't even get 20 minutes a game. It's a concern for me. I'm not sure it's ever going to happen for him, so that's why he's first on the list. Next up, a guy that is playing the most out of anybody on this list but has not looked particularly effective, and that is Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes has had an up and down start to his career, missed a lot of time with injury last year, did not look good at all in Summer League this year when you really would have hoped that he would, because you bring in Cade Cunningham and you could start to convince yourselves, oh, this could be a cool, fun backcourt. Hayes, Cunningham, 2 guys with good size, can defend, play make. They're interchangeable. They're both kind of combo guys. Yeah, Killian Hayes can't score, can't shoot. He's on the floor a ton because they need to play him because they just don't have any guards. But I don't know what his NBA skill is. I don't know what his thing is that he does really well that on a team that is not Detroit or Oklahoma City or Houston gets him on the floor. What's the positive thing? What's the benefit where you're like, hey, Killian Hayes, go in the game and do this? I don't know what it is. He just doesn't look like an NBA player to me. Granted, again, this is going to be the case with every single player on this list, so I'm going to stop saying it after this. It is still early in their careers, but typically the first 2 to 3 years of a player's career, if they're going to be good to really good, it is indicated in those first couple of seasons. It's not often that a guy looks really, really bad on the level that Killian Hayes and Poku have in the first couple of years of their careers and then end up being good NBA players. It's very, very unlikely that happens. Former top 10 pick. I'm creeping towards potential like NBA draft bust territory for Killian Hayes here. Next up, this one is just really sad. Marvin Bagley has played 1 game this year, 10 minutes, 2 points, 4 boards. That's it. That's the entirety of his playing time this season. There have been, his dad has come out and said stuff. His agent has come out and said stuff. Like, I don't understand why he hasn't been traded. They informed him he's not part of the rotation. They actually did play him a couple of minutes in the first game, and then he hasn't seen the floor since. He's had injury issues throughout the first couple of years of his career, and it's just a complete disaster. It's a classic case of a draft bust. When you go back and look at it, I know that it's recent, but when you go back and look at this 10 years from now, you're going to see, Ayton with the first pick, Marvin Bagley's here, then you got, Trae Young, Luka, Jaren Jackson can still be very good. Like, you look at this class and like, what's the one huge miss here? And it's Marvin Bagley, and he has incredible talent, great size, great athleticism, really skilled player. He hasn't been able to figure out how to defend. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, and for whatever reason, just has not endeared himself to the coaching staff there in Sacramento. And it's mind-boggling to me. It's shocking that a guy that they were so high on a couple of years ago has fallen this far to the point that he's not even playing. And again, for a basketball team that is not particularly good, like they might potentially threaten for a play-in spot, but it's not like they're a top team in the West. And Marvin Bagley can't even touch the floor. And it's not like they have, a ton of really, really good bigs and front court players there. They've got some decent guys, But like the fact that he can't even get on the court tells me that one, he's either absolutely awful as a player, or two, he's just in the doghouse for whatever reason, whether it be because of the comments made by his agency, comments made by his father, whatever the case may be. Just free him, please. Like, send him somewhere else. Let him actually try and play somewhere, because it is just not happening here in Sacramento. And it's, out of everybody on this list, it looks potentially most disastrous for Marvin Bagley in terms of their start to their NBA career. Next up, Jaxson Hayes. A guy that's a former top 10 pick that I really don't feel like we ever talk about. You know, I think there's expectations for a lot of top 10 picks around the league, and there just aren't any for Jaxson Hayes, which is potentially the most concerning part about this whole situation, is that nobody seems to expect anything out of him. This was the draft where New Orleans traded back, and then they selected Jaxson Hayes, and the comments made at the time were they got Zion, and David Griffin wanted an incredibly athletic front court with Zion and Jaxson Hayes, and potentially you could get Hayes to be a half-decent floor spacer from the mid-range or three to fit alongside Zion, and you've got just this incredibly athletic, at-the-rim, powerful front court. Well, the Zion situation is a whole different thing to talk about here, but Hayes just, he doesn't have the strength to play inside. He gets pushed around. He doesn't appear to be all that interested in being like an actual big guy in the NBA. It's a problem that he shares with a couple of other interesting young bigs around the league, where they're just not particularly interested in doing the things that are their most usable NBA skills, which are running to the rim, rebounding, defending the rim. Just doesn't seem all that interested in it. And it does not seem like a situation that is likely to fix itself or turn around. And I'm pretty much there with Jaxson Hayes, where, like, again, if you're on a bad team and you're barely getting any run and you don't look all that good when you're on the floor, I'm concerned. And that's where I'm at with Jaxson Hayes. Next up, a guy that is actually on a good team, Jalen Smith, top 10 pick from not this most recent draft, but the year before. And we've talked about this before in relation to Phoenix's run to the finals and them struggling with not having a backup five option for DeAndre Ayton. That guy was supposed to be Jalen Smith, top 10 pick, supposed to be able to space the floor, be a good worst case role player five man. And just cannot even get on the basketball court. They bring in JaVale McGee in the offseason to try and give them the depth that they were looking for at the five spot. And as a result, Jalen Smith just has not been able to get on the court. I don't know if it's a confidence issue because he barely played last year. I don't know if he's just not any good and they reached for a particular need, because I do remember this being a relatively surprising pick at the time. But like it or not, former top 10 pick, the expectation is you're going to help your team. And I know that he's on a good one. And if he was on a worse team, he'd probably be getting more opportunity and potentially have more room to grow and develop. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they moved on from this guy this year to try and get them something else to help them push for the title this year, because Chris Paul's not getting any younger. They have a legitimate chance, I think, to make the finals again this year. And if Jalen Smith is a guy that was picked in the top 10 a year and a half ago and is barely even seeing the floor, he is an asset they can use somewhere else to potentially, increase the chances of this team making the finals. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them do that. And if you're a former top 10 pick that gets traded within 2 years, you're absolutely in NBA draft bust territory for me. And then last up on the list, Kevin Knox. Does anybody know how many minutes Kevin Knox has played this season? Again, former top 10 pick. 4. Kevin Knox has been on the basketball court for 4 more minutes than I have to begin this season so far. It is just, I remember Kevin Knox's first summer league, and he was getting to the rim, he was getting to the free throw line, hit mid-range jump shots, and I saw it. I was like, okay, I understand what they liked about this guy. He's probably never going to be like a 25-point per game scorer, but he can score 15. He can be like Wilson Chandler, right, if he starts hitting shots. And then he had a pretty decent start to his rookie year, turned his ankle, and has been awful since. I don't have an explanation for it. Him, Frank Ntilikina, that whole era of Knicks draft picks just continually struggled to make a significant impact. And this one is no question that he is absolutely a draft bust. Like there's nothing in his career to this point, apart from the first 3 months of it, that points to a productive, positive, beneficial NBA career for Kevin Knox moving forward. Maybe he finds a new spot and he carves out a decent little career through the rest of his time in the NBA, but I don't think it's particularly likely. Let me know if I missed anybody on this list, people that you think should have been here that were not mentioned. But for my list, as of right now, granted early in the season, we got Poku, Killian Hayes, Marvin Bagley, Jaxson Hayes, Jalen Smith, and Kevin Knox. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen, leave a like rating as well if you enjoyed it, and check out the channel for more videos just like this, and subscribe if you yeah, want to see more videos just like this. With that said, once again, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.